Good evening, and welcome to the latest episode of Eddie Had Cargo Connections. I'm your host, Ron Anderson, and tonight I'm joined by Chad Schumer to talk about the industry, bloodstock, and his recent success on Super Saturday. Welcome, Chad.
Thanks very much.
Excellent. So we'll start at the beginning. Where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born and grew up here in Louisville, Kentucky. Have lived in California for a while, but as anyone in the bloodstock industry can tell you, you need a Kentucky presence. So here I am.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that later on in terms of the bloodstock agency that you founded. The fact that, as you said, Kentucky is such horse centric, as I like to call it, and
Absolutely.
it really is the epicenter and the heartland for horsemen, and anyone in the horse industry in America. And it's one of those red hot places recognized internationally as well. How did you first get involved in horses? I read a little bit about, your trips to Churchill Downs with your grandmother when you were
Yeah.
5 years old. But, going back to then, where was the passion really ignited and how did you get involved in horses in the first place?
Well, I went to, I tried to do as much as I could with limited knowledge of how to get in. So I went to a few sales when I was very young, teenager, went to Fasig-Tipton and Keeneland here in Kentucky, and then was going to go to the University of Kentucky to try to get involved somehow. But everything they had in their curriculum was more agriculture based, more like pre-vet, which is not really where my interest level was. And then just as I was about to enter college, I saw that the University of Louisville here in town was starting an equine business program. So I thought, now that could work for me. So I went to that, made a lot of connections, and kind of launched from there.
And just out of curiosity, with the the way the industry has developed so rapidly, is there the opportunity at university now in terms of equine business, or is it still majority agriculture side of things?
No, no, I think there are two. The University of Louisville still has their program, and it's going very well. There's been a number of prominent graduates that have gone on to success in the business. There's the University of Arizona, which also has an equine program, more geared toward racetrack management, I think, but there have been some bloodstock people come out of that too. So yeah, I think so.
And you mentioned, you as a teenager, you liked going to sales, whether it be Keeneland or anywhere else, and you were getting into that side of things. You wanted to go away from the agriculture side of things and more into equine business. What was it about, pedigrees and thoroughbreds and that side of the bloodstock side of things that really intrigued you?
I think it's like a treasure map in a
Yeah,
way. You're trying to find your way from point A to point B,
yeah,
and to get to that success, there are so many avenues to do it, almost like a matrix, if you will. So I think the puzzle was always more interesting to me.
yeah.
The physical horse is, obviously a wonderful thing. I mean, they're beautiful animals. They're tremendous to be around. But I don't know. I think it was always the idea of trading bloodstock, pedigrees, and then the travel that would go into it, knowing full well that it was such an international business.
Yeah. And as you said, treasure map and a matrix in terms of, studying the bloodlines, putting in short
Mm,
where the horse came from, who the mama was, who the papa was.
sure.
And basically just going back over those bloodlines, I'm guessing really intrigued you as well when you were younger.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you see, for example, a mare like La Troyenne, one
Yeah.
of the great blue hens of all time, and the fact that she lived so many generations ago, but yet is still impacting pedigrees today. I think that's incredibly important. We just bought a mare who has four crosses to the Urban Sea family. Again, one of the great blue hen mares and Allegretta of all time, and I think going down that road is how you get to success. It's
Yeah.
always the best families. They tend to keep coming back year after year after year.
And even just, in terms of where I am in Australia, your exceeding cells, your schnitzels,
Sure.
those guys that are so well known, and even to an extent, Winks now, who's gone off to do her thing, black caviar, and as dams, so it's really intriguing. And you formed Schumer Bloodstock Agency in 1991, as we said, in the horse-centric region of Louisville, Kentucky. What led you to creating that agency and pursuing bloodstock as a career?
Well, I think for me, and I'm not sure I would advise anyone else to go down the same route. I just felt like I needed to work for myself,
Yeah.
and I got out there, and it's the sort of industry that does allow you to basically print a business card and go on your way.
Yeah.
I had been studying pedigree since I was literally 5 years old, so even though I was very young, I had a tremendous, well, I'd like to think, a tremendous knowledge of pedigree and the industry, and was ready to get started. As with most, young people going on an adventure like that, I found out quickly that maybe I wasn't quite as far along as I would have liked to have thought I was. But over the years, we gained some clientele, some experience, and kind of went from there.
And just another question on the side of that. Was there any family connection in terms of the industry at all?
No, none
No.
whatsoever. So it made it particularly difficult. But again, I had been studying pedigrees since I was really, really young. And so when I would get into conversations with people at sales, I think I think the knowledge came through. I think it
Yeah.
was apparent that I knew what I was talking about, and I was constantly making connections. I made an effort to go to every sale that I could in Florida at OBS and Maryland and the Mid-Atlantic sale. Back in the day, there was Barrett's in California. I went to the sales in Texas and Oklahoma, Arkansas. Any place I had a sale, I would get in the car and go, or the plane is the case in California. So I tried to make as many connections and get as much experience as I could. And it eventually paid off.
And being such a a heavy hitter now in terms of international market buying and selling of thoroughbreds, was that the plan when you first started? That's the first part of the question. The second part is looking back now where you are now. Could you ever imagine back when you started in 1991 that this is how far you could have come?
Well, the plan back then was to pay the rent,
Yeah,
any way that I could.
yeah,
So I don't know that we plan too much beyond that. I mean, I don't want to sound too arrogant when I say that yes, I could have imagined
yeah,
because I did. This is
yeah,
what I visualized. This is what I wanted. But in terms of connecting the two, going from that point of when you're first starting to getting to the point where you're like the leading buyer at a particular sale,
yeah,
no, it's not. It's not a linear, movement. I mean, you don't just assume that's where you're going to get. You hope, you dream that's where it's going to take you. But and I would, I'm a confident person, so I thought I could do it. But my goodness, there were many many moments of self doubt. Let me tell
yeah,
you, many.
yeah. And just another thing, a really cool thing I read, and I'll just basically it started with a visit to local bookstore, purchasing the odd thoroughbred record of Blood Horse magazine before attending, as you said, the University of Louisville Equine Industry program, where you would return as a guest lecturer at that same university.
Yeah.
What those little things, well, not little things, but milestones along the way. What have things like that meant to you in terms of your career today?
Well, that meant a lot. I mean, I went to the university. As you said, I had no family connection to the business.
Yeah,
My connection was going to we had a bookstore here called Holly Cook. It was a really cool, beautiful local bookstore. And when I found the Thoroughbred Record or the Blood Horse, the Thoroughbred Record back in the day, it was like, it was like a revelation for me. I mean, I didn't even know this existed. So I bought one any chance I could get and just sort of devoured them, like page by page. And every story, every international racing result. I was just enamored with it. So to get to the university, spend the 4 years there, put in the time, and then go out and do it, and be able to come back into that very same space, and then answer questions and talk to young people that want to get into the industry, and give them my perspective, which is a little different than most.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was really, really gratifying.
Yeah. And just covering a few things we've covered already. You close to 3 decades of experience doing what you do, advising, assisting clients,
Sure.
obtaining young stock, broodmares, stallions, mating recommendations as well as insurance services. And you mentioned a moment ago, obviously there was moments of self doubt, thinking, what am I doing? Has it been what you hoped it would be when you first set out? As you said, to pay the rent, but has it been what you hoped it would be?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, once you get to a certain level and you're constantly trading, it is. And I think what makes the business so unique, or at least for myself, I don't want to speak for everyone, but every day is a different day.
Yeah,
We're either preparing for the sale coming up, we're dealing with the aftermath of the last sale, we're invoicing, we're booking mares, we're writing contracts, we're planning travel. I mean, literally every day is a different day. And what I also find particularly interesting is we have a very set sales schedule. So Keeneland is January, spring is the 2-year-old sales, and OBS and Maryland, and sometimes Europe. This year we'll be going to Arcana. And then the sales schedule is the same every year. Yet every single sale is different.
Yeah.
It's sometimes the same set of clients, sometimes it's some new people, sometimes the current clients change their plans. So every time we approach a sale, it's completely different. And I think that having such diversity to your day and to your year, even though the schedule is set, makes it so interesting.
Yeah.
This many years later, it's just as interesting to me as it was when I first started.
Yeah. And as you said, the sales stay the same. You're expanding to different territories, as you mentioned, into
Mm.
Europe and elsewhere. You also said, when you get to the point where you are the leading buyer at the Keeneland sales, ranked among the top purchases of bloodstock each year for several years now, is there something unique that you look for as a buyer? Is it, a type, or, what do you look for as a buyer?
Well, you're always looking for an athlete, but
Yeah.
what I would say, the answer to that question I would give is value.
Yeah.
And you can find value at 10 grand, you can find value at a million, really,
Yeah.
depending on the situation. So we always try to find good value for our purchases. But in terms of buying young horses, you start with the horse, and it has to be an athlete. Great walk, good quality, lovely eye, head. I look for just the best, type that I can for the budget that I'm dealing with. Whether that budget is, 20 grand, 200,000, it doesn't really matter. You're just trying to find the best you can. And so I would always use the word value.
Yeah. And last week, when I was covering Super Saturday, I actually got a message from Pallavi saying, telling me about the Sound Money story. So we'll start there and talk about Sound Money. 5-year-old you purchased while in utero, when
Mhm.
you purchased Vegas Trip. He's out of Vegas Trip, for $23,000. Went
Yes.
on to win Group 3 Mahab Al Shamal on the weekend at Super Saturday. What has he meant for the team and the operation, as well as tell us a little bit more about that situation of purchasing while he was, inside the dam.
Well, we were shopping for a number of clients at that sale, and in particular, a broodmare partnership that we were involved with. And every year we buy a couple mares ourselves with partners, a leg of this, a leg of that type of thing. And when I saw her in the catalog, I just thought this is the type of mare that could fall through the cracks. So we cast a pretty wide net. We look at as many as we can, and we try to be very, very prepared. And in her case, we were right. She did slip through the cracks. She only brought 23,000. She was pregnant to Flatter at the time. Flatter's a tremendous stallion. Claiborne had done such a good job managing him. There was never too many of them for sale. So I just thought, if she had a real decent colt or filly even at that price, it would be hard to go wrong. We were very lucky. She had a beautiful colt. He came to the market in that November perfectly. The timing was exactly right. We keep a lot of the young stock at Omega Farm in Paris, Kentucky. They do a wonderful job. That colt was beautifully prepared. He went to the sale. He brought 200,000 for us that November, which was obviously incredible. There was so much interest. It was a very low reserve. There was live money everywhere. It was fun for everyone involved, the partner, the team. It was fantastic. It's that moment that you strive for, all that work that's put in, hours and hours of poring over the catalog, days and days at the sale in the barns all day long, in the rain, the snow, the sunshine, whatever the case may be. So it was really, really fantastic. And then to see him go on and be a top level performer here in the US, but then on that Super Saturday card, win that grade 3 was just fantastic.
And is that a common occurrence when you make a purchase that's in fall?
Yes, oh, very much so.
Okay,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, I was just very interested because I read when Pallavi made it, messaged me about that. I was like, okay, I had to ask that question because I wasn't too sure, but that's very interesting. And Go Soldier Go capped off that massive Super Saturday for you guys, winning the listed Albasta, winning by a head. How did you get involved with that purchase originally? And tell us a little bit about him.
Sure. Well, we buy yearlings quite a few yearlings for European breeds up guys. In particular, we partner with John Cullinan and Roger Marley of Church Horse Park and Stud. So that was the second year we were buying yearlings as a group, partnership group. In particular, the Dubai sale was new, and John and Roger were very keen to have a couple colts for that sale. So we were looking for a very specific type, big, strong American type of horse that would translate well to the Middle East. We bought two colts, and both of them were successful for us in terms of pinhooking, for sure. Go Soldier Go as a yearling, as soon as he walked out, I remember him so well. As soon as he walked out of the stall, I was like, wow, that's exactly the right type. And then he walked for me, showed a lot of athleticism, a lot of quality. I was determined to buy him. We only paid 45,000 for him, but at the time, for a tapiture, that was a pretty solid price. And I felt very confident that he was the right type of individual to go over. And fortunately, he proved us right.
Yeah. And just on that as well, I was speaking with Elliot Walden the other week, and he said something that I wanted to bring up when Plavi said I would be interviewing you. He said that, you said that Go Soldier Go went for 45,000, did you say?
Yes.
Yeah, so he said something along the lines of the market often gets it wrong in terms of it happens down here a lot when, for example, your Winx goes for um, Nature Strip goes for like 100 grand or
Sure.
60 grand and goes on to make, 21 million. So is that something you see often where a horse is really undervalued and goes on to
Oh,
do great
absolutely.
things?
Absolutely. All the time. I mean, there are story after story after story of yearling bringing, very little small price and going on and doing well. When you're shopping specifically to pinhook for a sale, whether it's in the United States, Europe, or Dubai, as the case may be, you're obviously looking for value because you fully intend to resell this horse. So you have to put yourself in a position that buying that you can get out in a comfortable level. Now that's what we try to do. I suppose other pinhookers do things differently, but in terms of in America, the market is so large. In the September sale, there are 3,500 yearlings that have to be absorbed in 10 to 12 days. It's going to create opportunities without a doubt.
Yeah. And other horses, for example, Group 1 February Stakes for a winner for Godolphin Lemon Pop, produced by one of your mares. Who are some other horses that you've been connected to, either in terms of purchases or produced by purchases of note in the past?
We're very proud of the fact that 9 subsequent Grade 1 winners or Group 1 winners are out of mares that were purchased at the sale. In particular, we bought the dam of Round Pond, the Breeders' Cup winner, and Kip DeVille, another Breeders' Cup winner, before they went on to their Grade 1 success. Um, Lemon Pop is the most recent, just won the February Stakes in Japan. We bought that mare privately after she was let out unsold at Keeneland. We've had Group 1 winners in Australia, Fashions Afield. We've had a Group 1 winner in Saudi Arabia. So we've been lucky that a lot of our purchases have had success at the highest level, really across the globe.
Yeah. And some of your stallions, for example, Redesdale, who was sired by the great Speightstown amongst your agency, who have been some other stallions that you've had the opportunity to work with?
Gosh, we have done a lot of stallion deals. In
Yeah.
particular, in the Gulf region in Saudi Arabia, we've purchased First Defense, who
Yeah.
was a really high level Grade 1 winner here in the States and has gone on to do well there. We raced a really nice horse called Worldly, an AP Indy horse that was Breeders' Cup placed for us, that also went on to Saudi Arabia and has become a top stallion there. At one point was the top stallion. Gosh, there's so many. Uh, uh, there's so many actually. I'm
Yeah.
drawing a blank
Yeah.
because I'm not sure
Yeah.
where even to start.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And we'll talk about, you mentioned the Gulf. You've been buying horses on behalf of clients there for years, notably in
yes.
Saudi, where purchases have included, for example, My Map by Liam's Map, Just for Sewell, First Crop Daughter of Justify Akfiq. How did you get involved in branching into that region in terms of your agency, and what does success what happened last Saturday in the Super Saturday, as well as Saudi Cup meetings, Bahrain and those kinds of areas in the Gulf, mean to the operation, the agency.
Well, it means the world because when someone, puts the trust and confidence in you to purchase horses for them, you obviously want to do a great job. Many years ago, I was contacted by the Saudis and start buying a small number of mares. I think the first year we bought 3 or 6 mares for them, and they were really happy with the quality of the mares and the price, the value that they got. So the next year it was 20 something, and it got up to 48 mares, if you can imagine, at one particular Keeneland sale, which kept us pretty busy. But
Mm.
recently we bought a lot of 2-year-olds. My Map and Just for Sewell were both purchased for Prince Sultan bin Mashal Al Saud. He's had a lot of success this season racing in Saudi and racing in the United States. The first horse I bought for him was a horse called Saham, who was a graded stakes winner right here at Churchill Downs, as a matter of fact. So we've done particularly well in that part of the world, and we're just pleased that people are confident enough in us to give us a chance to buy for them.
Yeah, and just another thing I read as well. You've said that with the Breeze Up sale in Dubai coming up, and you've said that you'd like to try to find pedigrees that work well in the region. What kind of things outside of what you usually look for would you be looking for Dubai and the Middle East?
Well, I don't know that it's outside what we normally do, but in particular, when we're buying for European pin, well, I should say breeze up sales,
Yeah,
um, we look for a horse that's light on its feet, that looks like it could come to hand early and handle those surfaces. In Dubai, it's a different scenario. It's a dirt scenario. So we look for a very American type of dirt horse, typically a little bit bigger, a little bit more bone and more scope.
yeah,
So this year we have two that we're involved with going to the sale. In particular, John and Roger at Church Horse Park and Stud have a classic Empire colt, and he's a lovely colt. He's out of a Giants Causeway mare who's a graded stakes mare. She's been a lovely producer, and we're really pleased to offer him Classic Empire. It's a fairly young sire in America, a champion 2-year-old, but he's just seems every time I look at a Derby prep or a Kentucky Oaks prep, there's a Classic Empire in the race. So
yeah.
I think he's producing a classic type, and I think that in particular suits Dubai.
And having had those two, Go Soldier Go, in Super Saturday and Sound Money, what connections do you have coming up in terms of the World Cup and World Cup meet?
Well, those would be the two flagship bearers,
Yeah,
wouldn't they? And to have two winners on a card like that is just
yeah,
wow. It was just amazing. So we are watching them with great interest. We can't look just so much looking forward to the World Cup for
yeah,
that reason. Um, and we hope they both perform big. I mean, Sound Money will be running in a grade one now, a group one, I should say. The Golden Shaheen is one of the top races in the world. And we're, the competition will be even tougher, but we think he'll step up. He's proven top level here in the States. He was second to Cody's Wish, who's one of the best horses in training here in America. So we think he'll run big. Go Soldier Go has gone from strength to strength. It looks to me like every single start he's had, he's improved. As the distances have gotten longer, it's really played into his favor. Um, and I think he's going to show up once again in the UAE Derby.
and they both have fantastic trainers
They
looking after
do.
them as well, which really helps in Burpat Samir and Fuzzy Nass, which is great.
Absolutely.
So having been born, bred, and now back in Kentucky and branching out, around the world, as you said, you've done a bit of business down here in Australia, a lot of business in Dubai and the Middle East. When you look back, where have been some, unique places or events you've been a part of that have been really memorable? And you think, like when I started in 1991, I could never have imagined, being connected to a race in this place.
Well, I thought that a couple times throughout my travels. In fact, if in your native country of Australia, I woke up one time in Perth
Yeah.
and traveled to a farm south of there on the just on the coast of far western Australia, and I thought to myself, I'm about as far away as you could possibly be from home physically right now. So that was really cool. I've been to Morocco. I've been gosh, I've been racing all over Europe. I've been to Eastern Europe. Uh, Hong Kong was amazing. Macau was one of my favorite places. I've been to China. I mean, I'm just very lucky that the business has taken me literally to every continent, bar Antarctica, and that
Yeah.
is also on the bucket list.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be really, really cool. And so we've looked at the past, we looked at the present. What's next? Not just for Schumer Bloodstock Agency, but for Chad Schumer in the future.
Well, Schumer Bloodstock right now, it's not just me. It's Mary Motion, Nancy Sexton. They're a huge part of our success. Couldn't do it without them. So we try to grow the business and go from strength to strength. So I think that's the main thing. Um, we, we're selling at the sale in Dubai this year. We're selling in the sales in Arcana in France and throughout the sales and the breeze up sales in Europe and here in the States. We do a small partnership where we sell a nice group of 2-year-olds that'll be going through OBS. Doing a lot of racing now, so enjoying that very much and hoping for a big year with that. And just to kind of keep things going, like once you get to a certain level, you don't want to just maintain, you want to keep moving forward. And so we try to do that every day.
And just thanks so much again for joining me tonight.
Of course.
And the final question, as you just pretty much gave me the final question for our chat tonight. You said you're really excited to get more involved in the racing side of things, and that's what you're looking for this year. 2 winners on the Super Saturday card last week. These 2 flag bearers head into the World Cup meet. If there was any race at home or abroad that you could be connected to a winner, which race would that be and why?
Well, I think I'll probably take the obvious choice in the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.
It's something I've grown up with. It's a massive event. It's an experience like none other. And that's the race that we all want to win here in the States. Outside of that, I'd have to say the Arc in France.
Yeah. Thanks so much for joining us on Eddie.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Really great. Thank so much,
Thank
mate.
You.